What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Buffalo Commander. I'm your host, Alex. We are going to go over some Buffalo Bills preview, primer, free agency stuff today. I want to start off by going into the team breakdown and where we have spots that need filling or need upgrading, and where our free agency is leading us with players that are going to leave the team. And then also get into some cap stuff and some potential free agency targets while we lead into the draft and the combine next week. So I'm going to go ahead and start and share screen with you. I've created this Excel workbook for everybody. As you can see, I've color coded a lot of this. Blue is players guaranteed to be on the roster. Orange is most likely on the team, I think. And then also cut candidates are in purple. Actually, I need to update cut candidates a little bit, so I'll just walk you through it. Also, we have color codes on where I think draft need is. Where red is emergency need, in my opinion, wide receiver, defensive tackle, and safety, free safety to be specific. And then you kind of go in through there. So first and foremost, I think that we do need backup quarterback filled. However, I'd be okay with Kyle Allen coming back, to be quite honest with you. I think that he is a serviceable backup player in this league. I think he doesn't get enough credit. And I do value the camaraderie he has with Josh Allen, although a lot of people will tell me that he shouldn't have so many buddies on the team, but I don't mind it at backup quarterback. I think if the backup's going to play, we're probably screwed anyway. So next is running back. James Cook's definite. Ty Johnson is going to be a free agent. However, I do have it as most likely being back on the team. I do believe the team will re-sign him going forward. And then Nyheim Hines is kind of a cut candidate, in my opinion. I don't think that he's probably going to be on the roster. I believe we can save some money. We'll go into that a little bit later on how much that saves when I do share on the over the cap. We'll look at what can be done to bring the cap number to a normal place. So I do think we need a power back there in the Latavius Murray mold from last year. So I don't think it should be Latavius Murray. We need to get a little younger and maybe even the draft. Wide receiver, I only see two definites. That is Steph Diggs and Khalil Shakir. I do believe Deontay Hardy could get cut and should. Justin Shorter, I know a lot of you out there are talking about him being some kind of great option to replace Gabe Davis. You're wrong. It's not the case. He is a stiff, clunky running wide receiver. He is a wide strider. There's nothing sudden about his movements. His hands are average, and he was a very mediocre. I should say this: a very below average pick for a fifth rounder. He should have been a undrafted free agent from last year's draft. Guys like A.T. Perry were still on the board. Trey Palmer was still on the board when he was chosen. They got drafted a round later. They've both been way better than him, especially Palmer. There were some others too that came after him that could have been chosen. I personally hated the pick. I know I'm going on a soapbox here, but I just want to put it on record. I at best, he's a wide receiver 6 and a special teams performer. He looked like a tight end on tape to me. And then I do think that KJ Hamler has a potential spot on this team. His injury history is really concerning, though, and I don't see he's going to have a hard time making the roster just generally and getting them to trust in him. But I could see him filling in for the Deontay Hardy as a cheaper option by cutting Hardy, saving the money, and then let Hamler slide in as a wide receiver 5 and a potential backup slot. And kick returner, things like that. See if we can utilize his speed. And then if he gets hurt at that point, he gets hurt. But a lot of his medicals are troubling, not just with the injuries to the body, but also kind of some internal stuff that could be potential problems going forward, like with his heart. Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, I think we're solid at tight end. We could probably add a depth player there. Nothing too crazy. We're pretty set, I would say, as set as you can be. At the offensive tackle position, Deion Dawkins, Ryan Vandermark, Spencer Brown are a good trio. Spencer really stepped up last year. I like him a lot. And then Alec Anderson, I think, is pretty much a lock to make the team, but he's on the bubble still going forward. But I do believe he can swing in and replace at center if we need to, if something happens where we cut Mitch Morse. Guard, Connor McGovern, Cyrus Torrance, I think that we could fill in 2 depth players there. Alec Anderson is probably one of those guys. And I forgot to say at tackle, Tommy Doyle's probably gone. I don't see him making the team. Mitch Morse and Ryan Bates. I do see Ryan Bates as being the future at the position. I think that they really value him a lot, and he has rapport with Josh Allen. I think that what's going to happen is Mitch Morse, when he does retire, if he retires this year, Ryan Bates is just going to slide in. We might draft like a developmental guy late. Next, defensive end, we're thin there. We got Vaughn, Greg, and Kingsley Jonathan. I think we need a couple players to fill in. Namely, I think we should probably bring back AJ Epinesa. Potentially Floyd too. I don't think he's going to be that expensive, but he may have priced himself out with the 10, 11 sack year, 10 half sack year he had this season. At defensive tackle, we've got Ed Oliver and Eli Ankou. That's really all we got. I do think Eli Ankou is probably going to make the team this year, as I think they see him as a future depth player, and they've been prepping him for that kind of thing. And I think he's probably in the rotation with the 4 or 5 that we end up keeping at the end of the day, like we typically do. Next is at outside linebacker. We have Matt Milano and Dorian Williams. Dorian Williams is going to be the primary backup here. I think they drafted him for a reason. He's going to be not given as much as Terrell Bernard did last year at inside linebacker, because I don't think that was the original plan for him. I think the original plan for him was to be in this Dorian Williams role, where he's a primary backup to Matt Milano, and he takes a step this year to end up to get the position more solidified, more so than it was last year. I do think we bring in one backup there. And then at interior linebacker, inside linebacker, we're looking at Terrell Bernard and Balin Spector currently. I think we probably add a guy there also just as depth, maybe a stab late in the draft just to see what happens, kind of like we did with Balin a couple years ago. I could see Dotson coming back. It's an option. Do I think that's really an intelligent move by the team? I don't know. I think he might have. I don't know if he priced himself out, but I still don't like him in coverage. I think he had a better year this year, and PFF overgrades him a little bit, but I do think he was a serviceable backup. I think we can probably do better though. And then lastly, corner. I'm sorry, not lastly, but the next is corner. We got Rasul Douglas, Trey White, Christian Benford, Kaiir Elam, and Taron Johnson. Taron, Christian, and Rasul should be locks. I know Rasul there's a question whether we're going to extend him. I think we should to get cap space. Give him a nice little raise, extend him out 2 years, and let him play CB1 for you. Trey White cannot play safety. I'm going to say it again. He cannot play safety. Trey White is a cornerback. He is not a good tackler. He doesn't have safety instincts. He would not be good there as a transition. I do believe he's a cut candidate. Do I think he's most likely on the team? Most likely, with some sort of restructure, but he's a cut candidate at the end of the day. There is a propensity for him to go. And then Kaiir Elam is probably going to make the team. I think he's probably CB4. Maybe CB3 if Trey goes, but I mean, he could get cut, I guess, but I don't see it because they invested in him 2 years ago. Hopefully they just expect him to progress and be a backup corner, and that's just what he is. And he's not never going to be your CB1 or CB2 probably. So we probably need to bring in a guy or two there. And then we have no free safeties that I consider a free safety. Damar Hamlin is not a free safety. He's a safety 4 at best on your team and a special teams player. I do not feel good about that position. However, I would be okay with Taylor Rapp coming back to fill in and then bringing in a rookie behind him to learn, or maybe even take his job and let Rapp be good safety depth. And then potentially if we bring back Cam Lewis can play safety also. I don't know if that's the mindset for him. I missed him on this chart. So I apologize for that. But Cam Lewis is a potential, if we bring him in and bring him back, extend him to be a potential free safety going forward. But I think that Jordan Poyer comes back. Hamlin's probably going to come back as a backup, safety 4. Hopefully we re-sign Rapp and maybe bring in and definitely bring in a safety in the draft in the 2nd or 3rd round. That's probably where the best value is at safety. I don't see a lot of 1st round graded guys in this draft. So, okay. So next piece here, let me remove this from the queue. All right. Stop sharing screen. Okay. So I want to go into the cap. So I'm going to reshare that. Share screen. There we go. Salary cap calculator. Here we go. All right, just make sure. Yep, we're good. Okay, so as you can see here with Over the Cap, this is a website everyone can use. It provides you salaries, what it looks like if we restructure. Whoops, jumped out of the wrong screen there. What it would look like if we restructure a player or cut a player, it'll update the cap in real time. So I'm going to kind of go through that a little bit. So you can see up top here at the 51 million, negative 51, 277,109 is the current cap. The current cap, we're in the negative too. So we have to make that up before we can sign anyone when the league year starts. So first and foremost, you can come down here and you can see it. It'll pop up here and you can restructure the contract. Just click it and hit submit. And we're going to save automatically with restructuring Josh. We're saving 23, 22, 20, $23 million cap savings by just doing that. So now we're at negative 28. After that, I know people think that Diggs could get cut. I don't see it. You can cut him post June 1 if you want to. I'm going to redo this. I'm not going to do it because I don't think this is going to happen. But that just saved us another $19 million. The problem with that is this. I know a lot of people think he's gone. He's probably not. I see a restructure more so than anything else. Not a renegotiate, but just a restructure. It saves us $13 million in the cap right here. Go ahead and do that. And then we got another $13 million. I think he's just going to come back and he's going to be just a little disgruntled and we're just going to have to run with it just like we did this year. I don't think there's any other option to the scenario. Deion Dawkins, another guy. We just got to restructure him. He's a focal point to the team. He's going to be our left tackle for the next 3 to 4 years. Just eat the cap space and move on. Now we're at negative $8 million with just 3 moves. Okay. I'm going to cut Trey White. And we're getting now at a point where we're at negative $2 million. Okay. Coming down, we could easily restructure Matt Milano, get $2 million. It's not a ton of money, but it's a little something. And now we're at negative $300,000. Okay. I do believe there's a chance Mitch Morse leaves because it just makes too much sense to cut bait on him. I do think that's an opportunity, but I think the best scenario is taking Rasul Douglas's contract, giving him a bump in salary, extending him out a couple years, turning his base salary into a signing bonus, and then you can spread that out. So whenever you do a restructure, you can take the salary for that year, turn it into a bonus, and you can spread that out for up to 5 years. So if it's 3 years, you know, whatever's left in the contract's what you can do. So you would extend it out a couple years and give them an extension there to open up some space, basically. Okay. So I think that's probably what we could probably get. I can't do the calculation on here because there's no way to do it without me actually typing in a contract for him, which is above my pay grade to be able to do. However, probably save $4 or $5 million there. Let's say we come up $4 million on that piece. And then we could probably restructure. We can cut Hardy. Saves us money. $4 million right off the bat just by cutting Hardy. He's gone. Let's see here. Yep, 3.7 is where we're at now. And then you can come down to, you know, Floyd's already gone. We already owe that money on his contract. There's no way we're going to be able to make that up. And then hopefully Daquan too. But Daquan, that's going to be, he's a free agent. We have to re-sign him. We can do an extension here. I know probably a lot of you don't want to restructure Dawson Knox, but it saves us a lot of money. So $6 million to be exact. I think that whether you like it or not, he's going to be on this team for the next 2-3 years minimum. This team likes running 12 personnel with 2 tight ends and 1 running back, and he's a big part of that. Whether you think he's a good tight end 1 or not, he's a really good tight end 2. He was a top 12 tight end before Dalton Kincaid got here as far as statistically goes. So there's an option there. And then you could probably, Taron's on the last deal. So you could extend Taron Johnson 2 years and pick up some space too by taking his salary or giving him a little bit of an increase, paying him for another 2 years until he's 30, taking that money and extending it out on a restructure, turning the base salary for this year into a signing bonus and spreading it out. So you could probably get another 3 or 4 million there. Like I said, not a pro on over the cap. So I don't know how to do that. I know where the place is, but I don't know what to put into the options to do so. But I know within relative certainty what that looks like at the end of the day. So we're at 9, and that does not include Taron Johnson potentially getting a pay increase and an extension. And the same thing with Rasul Douglas. Okay, so those are the two, I think, extension candidates. In my honest opinion, we're not extending Jordan Poirier. We can cut Nyheim Hines because I don't think he's going to be on the roster. And then we're sitting at 14 million now at the top here. I don't know if you can see my cursor. 14,574,296 is the cap space for this year if we do those things. And that does not include, like I said, a raise and extension for Taron Johnson and Rasul Douglas, which could free up cap space. We could also cut Mitch Morse, but I think that he plays one more season. I really do. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing there. Come back. Okay. Now, I do want to get into a couple different targets that I do like in this free agency period that I do believe Buffalo could be looking at. My goal, if I'm Brandon Beane, is probably going to end up being, I'm looking at a chart to the side here, so sorry, I'm not looking at the camera, is to shore up defensive tackle in free agency. And the reason for that is this. High-end defensive tackles make just as much as high-end wide, or close to what high-end wide receivers do. Not really, but pretty close. Like Aaron Donald's pretty close to like Tyreek Hill and some of these other guys. However, if you look at the mid-tier guys, you've got guys like Christian Kirk making $20 million still. Mediocre defensive tackles don't make that kind of money. Mediocre defensive tackles make $6-7 million a year. For instance, Daquan Jones, if you look on SpotRack, $6.8 million is what he's looking at this current time. So what we're seeing here, or what I think strategy-wise they should do, is re-sign Daquan Jones for another 2 years, backload his contract, pay him up front, so do a restructure or a quasi-restructure where you pay his base salary high on the front end and then try to spread it out, maybe a 3-year term, something like that. And then Sheldon Rankins is an option. His spot rack market value was 9.9. I think that's in the upper end of what we want to do. I think we're going to have not a splash, but one player that we're going to pay decent to above average money to in this coming season. So look for one of these defensive tackles, hopefully, to get somewhere in the realm of $8 to $10 million. I think Daquan's probably going to command more like 8, not 6.8, like the market says on Spot Rack. Puna Ford, I think $2 million gets the job done, or some close, a little bit above the vet minimum. Go ahead and do that. Go ahead and take care of it. Get some more depth there, and then we'll get another guy in the draft too, hopefully in round 2. Wide receiver, I know they're going to say, "Oh, you can't say you have to take a wide receiver in round 1." I literally am saying I think that we like, if the value is there and there's another position with equal, maybe even higher value. Let's say a defensive tackle is a little bit higher rated, but they're close. You take the wide receiver because it's a cheap deal for a premium position that would cost you a ton in free agency. And we have a dire need at starting outside wide receiver 2 to replace Gabe Davis. There's no way we're bringing him back. If we do, I'm not going to watch football. I'll watch, but I'm not. I wouldn't be happy about that kind of move if I'm a Bills fan paying Gabe Davis anything over. I wouldn't pay him over $6 million. If you pay him over 10, I think that'd be awful. His market's way higher than that. That's why I wouldn't do it. So I think with the next position being wide receiver, you do need some vet pieces. So I love Laviska Shenault as a wide receiver 4 and a gadget kind of guy, can do it all kind of person. He can also return kicks. He would be in somewhere in the realm of $5 million a year based on Spot Rack. He's an option. I do like a couple guys that maybe you aren't thinking of right now. Van Jefferson, $2.3 million. Mac Hollins, $1.4 million is what he's rated at. Those are 2 fine, solid depth players, vets. The main worry is that we have too many young guys in the room. If Justin Shorter is your wide receiver 5 or 6, Shakir is your wide receiver 3, and Diggs is 1, you only have one real high-end vet in the room itself. So what I would say is we need to go ahead and get a vet, whether that's, like I said, Van Jefferson, Laviska Shenault. Noah Brown's another one I like. Josh Reynolds is one. Josh is probably going to be the most expensive of the crew, but I do like him as a potential at wide receiver 4. just to be a vet presence and give you, I don't know, 30 catches and 400 yards with 3 touchdowns in a year. And then edge is another one I think that is a position of need. We're pretty light there. I would love to bring AJ Epinesa back. The market value on Spotrac is 5.6 million. He's going to make more money than that for sure. I'm thinking he's closer to 8 to 10. Leonard Floyd's also an 8 to 10 guy. It says 8.1 on Spotrac, but I think we're probably looking at $8 to $10 million range for him also. And then Josh Uche is one. He's going to probably make a little more. He's a little bit younger. He's got a little bit more of a track record than AJ Epinesa. But he's registered in around 8.3. I think these guys are all probably $8 to $10 million guys. So if you're going to get one, we're going to have to shore up cap space somewhere else. And as you can see, when we did it earlier, I was walking through it for the first time with you. I've looked at it a couple times, but like actually clicking the button and looking what happens to it, we're tight. There's not a lot of space. We're going to have to be creative with what we do to get enough space to sign 2 guys over $7, $8, $9 million a piece. So it's probably going to be just one or the other and then some depth. So what I probably project is defensive tackle. We bring back Daquan. We fill in with the draft, and then Eli Anku, and maybe another cheap free agent. And then bring back Epinesa if he wants to come back for a home team discount. So, and then lastly, safety. This is the last. I think these are just the positions that I think we have a dire need at. Safety is another one. Poyer is going to come back probably. So his wife said on Twitter. He seems like he's coming back. We're not getting Hyde back. So one guy that came available recently is Eddie Jackson. I think he's almost 30. He used to be a Pro Bowler. He was a top 100 player at one time, number 30 on the list with the NFL network. So I think he's maybe has something left in the tank. And bring him back for maybe a Poyer deal because he's getting ready to turn $37 million a year. Approve it so he can go maybe cash in one more time after this. Chuck Clark's another one just coming off injury. I like him a lot. I don't know if I don't know when he's coming back from his injury. He got hurt in July. However, he'd be a great option as a safety, a starting safety if he is fully healed. He should be, by the time the season starts, about a year and a half out. So I think that's a great option potentially. And then Taylor Rapp, he can fill the void. He's not ideal at free safety, but he did okay last year. I think he's better off being Poyer's replacement if he keeps developing once Poyer's gone in a year. But he can play the spot, and we interchange our safeties a lot. So I do think that there's some movability there, and it's not quite as big of a deal. And then we'll probably draft a guy at safety, actually. So we're probably looking at a second or third round safety. That's where the value is in the draft. Guys like Kinchins, those guys are probably high to mid second round values. But safeties are a weird thing. They don't always go where you think they're going to go. So they could end up in the first round. But there's like 4 or 5 guys that I think are all rated pretty close to Kinchins being second or third round values. They can learn behind Poyer and then kind of proceed forward at that point from there. So a wild card, Jeremy Chin, like I said, I don't know if we have the money to pull that off. I think it's going to be one decent sized free agent, $8 to $10 million, maybe 11 or 12 at the most. And then the rest are going to be like bargain bin, $2 to $5 million guys. That's what it's starting to look like right now. We'll see what the market looks like at that point. There's always surprises where guys like Floyd came in for pretty cheap last year. So it could be a situation where we don't have to pay a whole lot for a Daquan or of course, Taylor Rapp's not going to make a ton of money. Or Jeremy Chin, maybe Chin needs a resurgence and needs to, do a prove it deal. I don't know, in order to get paid big bucks after that. I don't know. I doubt that actually, but that's just a hypothetical example. So that happens all the time. Guys come in and they do prove it deals, or they play for home team discounts, or they play for a little cheaper than you envision them doing. So there's always going to be some surprises like that, but I wouldn't expect much more than a low teens at the most for one player, and then a bunch of bargain bin dudes, vet minimum up to $5 million a year guys, and maybe only 1 or 2 of those guys that hit $5 million, just generally speaking. So yeah, that's it. I hope y'all enjoyed this. Please subscribe, like, and share. this video when you do see it. If you like this kind of content, we're going to keep doing it. We're doing a Washington Commanders one tomorrow. We're going to go over theirs in depth. Also, they have a very different situation than Buffalo, where they have a ton of money to spend. So this will be a different conversation. Ours is more of cap management and just kind of feeling out where we are and what we can do in free agency before the draft starts. So next week's the combine. I'll have a video for that. We'll have 3 videos this week. This one, the Washington one, we'll do. We're doing picks 6 through 15 on our panel mock draft. We'll have another guest for that one, hopefully. And then we're going to mold into next week with the combine. And then free agency actually starts the week, 2 weeks out, a week and a half after that. So we'll be there. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe, and see you next time.